Hey, Clips. What's up? You are first, as far as I can tell. My little monitory thing. Josh Hogan, what's up? My little monitory thing is looking jittery again. You guys remember last time I was getting that message saying that my video quality sucked and it was like jittery? It says it's doing that, but the picture looks fine. I really need to learn more about this. I go through all this crap every time with you guys. I'm like, could somebody tell me if it's working? I guess I should figure out how to figure that out on my own. As usual, I'll give a few minutes. Brian Helmold, what's up? Nothing too earth-shattering today. I'm going to wait for some people to show up, but I know I've been MIA. Life is in the way of paintball lately. Yeah, see here I'm getting that error. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers will experience buffering. And I can't see why that is. I'm looking at my network connection right now. And it looks excellent. So I'm going to try something. If you lose me, come back. I want to see if I need a different wireless connection or some such. Let's see, Wi-Fi. No, it's the regular one. Yeah, I'm not going to sweat it, I guess. Thanks, Brian. So we'll just give it a few minutes. I got a few people posted up some stuff they wanted to talk about on the Facebook page, and that's cool. We'll do that. I got a couple things to look at. Kind of just what's been going on. If you guys think up stuff you want to talk about, put it in the chat for show. And we will figure it out. I figure I'll give it a few more minutes. I know I've been gone for weeks and weeks, right? People might be tired of waiting around for me to show up. I wouldn't put it past them for sure. I wouldn't blame them either. Kind of hoping that Mr. Miser shows up, my 1,000th subscriber. Got something for him after all this time. Was the audio okay, by the way, since we're just sitting here not doing anything? Hey, Tommy. Good to see you. I'm going to wait about 2 more minutes and we'll get started. Thanks, Brian. I was hoping to see everyone who posted in the Facebook post, like something to ask about or whatever. There was John was in there. Joshua Keys is in there. He almost always shows up. He might just be late or occupied. Brian, I saw you posted about trying anything out. Die. We'll talk about that. Brian Beasley was asking a question about big guys dealing with the heat, and I'm all about big guys dealing with the heat because that's me. We'll definitely talk about that. Ian Gannon. Yo. Hey, Garrett. Garrett is a knucklehead, for better or for worse. He's fairly new to the team. He's a stone cold killer. Super cool guy. He smells kind of funny, but apart from that, he's all right. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom. Man, that thing is bugging me. That error continues to pop up. Is it looking? It's looking okay, guys. I promise you, I won't keep asking you. But it just keeps. It's like this big yellow box, and it keeps screaming at me that the video is not working, or working well, or something. Is it still okay, Brian? I should time sometimes so I can see how long the delay is. It's like 15 seconds or something. I wish there was a way I could fix that, like make it not have a delay. Maybe there is a way. I should Google, because it's not like I'm going to be doing anything that needs to be censored or whatever. And the delay is annoying. Like I ask a question and then we're all just like, I'm just sitting here. Yeah, still good there. Hey, John. Hey. Yeah. Well, hey, let's get in. John actually has a question. And I said I'd wait a couple more minutes, and I did. Pardon me for having the frog in my throat. Allergies been killing me lately. It's one of the 50 things that's been keeping me off of videos. So let's just dive in. Thanks for coming, by the way, all you guys. And John, I know you posted a Facebook post too, so I'm super glad that you're here. Let's just get right into it right off the rip here. John is asking, do I think Planet's a little late? That's Planet Eclipse with the FL3, the FL three-way valve. And that would be an aftermarket valve that is like competition for the Hair 45 valve that Deadly Winds makes for the EMAC and M170 frame. And it makes it like have a shorter stroke and a lighter trigger. Now Planet Eclipse has their own upgraded valve to put in. And I haven't got one yet to try. I'm absolutely going to do a video 100% lock for sure comparing them. I've talked to a bunch of people who use them, and they say they work great. PE says they erred on the side of reliability, so it's not as short or light as the hair valve, but everyone I've talked to says it works great. So I haven't talked to anybody who did a super, side-by-side thing. So the question is, do I think they're late? That's a tough question to answer. Yeah, they're a little late. If I'm PE, I wish I wasn't so late, right? Because certainly they've sold a zillion hair valves. So from that perspective, they're a little late, I guess. But with all the delays of COVID manufacturing, they're not manufacturing COVID at Planet Eclipse. All the delays to manufacturing caused by COVID, whether it's supply chain, distribution, whatever, raw materials, actual manufacturing capability, etc. They have lots of stuff they wish they were making, right? And for all we know, this thing could have been slated to really come out and just sort of follow the EMAC, pretty soon after they started making it, and they just weren't able to. We don't know that, right? I tend to think that's probably not the case. I think that they thought it was good the way it was, which it is, and they saw how universal that hair valve became. It's like anyone who cares about performance, just put one in there. I mean, they must have sold a zillion of those things. And yay, thanks for joining. Late is fine. As long as you're here, that's good. I think they wish they were a little bit earlier. Maybe they underestimated the demand for a higher performance valve for that thing, but no big deal. It's great. I think that it will be excellent reliability. They won't release it with Planet Eclipse name on it if it's not awesome. So is it late? Yeah, maybe, but it's great that it exists. Hard to say, right? I bet they probably would have sold more, but they sell as many EMACs as they can make, so they're still going to sell a bunch of those for sure. It's actually, I think it's cheaper a little than that hair valve, which may force downward pricing pressure on the hair valve, because if it really works that great, faced with the opportunity to buy a factory valve that's, like I said, I haven't tested it yet. I don't know if it's just as good. I'm speaking theoretically. If it's just as good as a hair valve and cheaper, and it comes with Planet Eclipse promise of quality or what have you, I don't know why you buy a hair valve, right? So that will certainly bring the price down of the hair valve, I think, and I can't wait to test them and see if it lives up to the promise or not, or what. We'll get to it for sure. Porter, I did not catch any of the ICC except for that embarrassing and ridiculous Fight Club video where there were like guys shooting from the dead box and nearly getting into a fist fight. It's like it made me embarrassed to be a human. It's just so ridiculous. Like, what are they, 4-year-olds? Completely ridiculous. But no, I didn't catch any of it. I've been working an absolute metric ton, and I haven't had time to rewatch anything. But I will certainly. The All-Star game, was that just like a fun, I assume it was like a fun pickup game on the hairball field? I'll look to watch it for sure. I did not catch any of it. But while we're on the topic, so in case you didn't see, there's a video of Fight Club playing somebody. I forget who. I saw who it was, and now I don't remember. I bet you somebody will chime in and tell me who it was. But something happened at the end of the game. It's not exactly clear what, and frankly, it makes no difference whatsoever. But, it's one of your typical guy runs in, does a guy. Somebody maybe spins, maybe they don't. Maybe this guy thinks he's not hit, he shoots back. It's one of those typical sort of, it's a bang bang thing. Everybody disagrees on what the legit result is. And before you know it, there's like dead guys shooting at other players, and then people in the dead box just drilling guys who are still on the field. I mean, it's like mayhem. Refs running around grabbing people's guns. It's just completely like child behavior. Like every time I see that type of thing in paintball, it makes me embarrassed to be part of paintball. I mean, I don't know what else there is to say about that. Completely ridiculous, embarrassing for the sport. Every one of those guys. I mean, I don't mean those exact humans, because I don't even know which guys it was on Fight Club, because you can't see their jerseys, and I don't know them well enough to be able to pick out who's who in there, and I only know a couple of those guys anyway. But like whoever it was, I wish that ICC. I mean, if I'm being honest, I wish every tournament organization would band together and just perma-ban anybody who does that kind of stuff. Like the whole team should be disinvited from anything ever, in my opinion, because that's how bad it is. Now, other people are like, don't view it like that. Other people view it like kind of the same way when a baseball pitcher purposefully hits a batter, like, hey, it's part of the game. Sometimes you gotta put your foot down or whatever, and whatever. I'm not here to argue that my viewpoint is better than their viewpoint. I'm just saying my viewpoint is that's completely ridiculous. There's no room for that anywhere. And like if I were king, I would perma-ban that whole team from anything ever for that type of thing. And if you do that a couple times, you won't see that behavior anymore anywhere. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. There were a couple of questions. Let me see. Here, hang on one sec. I've got to take care of something here, so my browser stays live. Mute. All right. Let me look in the post here. My post I'm talking about in the group. Josh asked new DSR speculation, LV2 speculation, and ICC. So, as far as the DSR2 and the whatever they're going to call it, the DSR replacement and the LV2, no new information that I know about since before. Excuse me. Dye has made it known that the next thing that they're coming out with is going to be a DSR replacement. And the DSR as it exists is awesome. The only bone I have to pick about that is it is in the land of the mid-range marker. It's premium priced, right? They're either $900 or $950, I think. And they don't come with the upgrade parts. Like, it's a common upgrade to put the flex bolt and flex can in there to make it have better paint handling. And to me, it's a little disingenuous that it's been years since they came out with those parts. A couple of years anyway. More, I think. And they still don't come as the standard parts. That's kind of lame. I'm not a fan of that. But apart from that, it's a great marker. And whatever is going to replace it better be great, and I'm sure it will be great. But there's no other news about it. Same with the LV2. We've seen prototypes a few months back or a couple months back that probably are LV2 prototypes. Like a pretty obviously fake AT pipe on one with a bunch of stuff stuck on it, so you couldn't really see what it was. But no new news after that I've heard anyway. I would guess. I mean, it's hard to say, right? I don't know how caught up people are getting with the various impacts of manufacturing, like I keep mentioning, for COVID. So, like, without any of that, my speculation would be that over the winter, it'll be released at some point. However, with how hard it is for people to catch up, and companies are like behind in their supply by a ton, making stuff and distributing it, I don't really have a guess. Like, that's going to be affected like everything else. So we can only hope that it'll be sooner rather than later. And that's kind of all I know about that. ICC, we already talked about ICC, and that's kind of all I have to say about that. And people are commenting on here. My masked friend, Fight Club and NRG Elite. Oh, it was both of them. Interesting. And they said they're banned. Yeah, I hadn't read anything about it, but it wouldn't surprise me a bit. And he said you can't play at that event, but are allowed to play ICPL. I don't know why. If I were, like I said, if I were the boss, they'd be done permanently. Like, there's no room for that. Like, why? Why invite that in your event? Terrible. Michael Torres, Fight Club, you repping that name. Yeah, right? I mean, they are our Fight Club, I suppose. Keep reeling. Love your vids. Very informative. Hey, thanks very much. And I like the Prime XTS too, for sure. I got someone messaging me on Facebook. I'm going to make sure it's not this whole thing. I can't answer that right now. Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad you love the videos. I've been trying to do more of them. I promise there's more coming. I've just been super busy with work is really my bottom line. Prime XTS, a really good shooting gun. Yes, it is. If you haven't watched my video, look on the YouTube channel, and there's a Prime XTS review, and you can learn details about it, maybe if you don't know all the details of it. And yeah, I like those a lot. I've been very clear lately that I used to just like absolutely unequivocally recommend MacDev to everyone. And I've kind of pulled the plug on that because their customer service doesn't exist, essentially. We have some reps in the U.S. that are awesome. Mark Christian comes to mind, and there's a couple other guys too. And they are great, but they are handcuffed. They don't have the support of the company. You try to contact them, you're not them. Those guys are awesome. But if you try to like send email to info@macdev.com, good luck. I have emails to that address that I sent 18 months ago that no one's ever answered. It's terrible. So for that reason, I don't recommend them. Luckily, the markers are very reliable. So if you don't have any problems, you don't need any support, you're good. If you do, sorry about your luck. Ping Mark Christian on Facebook and hope for the best, because he is great and he will help you for sure. Let's see. So Kevin Genitals says, that's Kevin, he's another knucklehead. LV2 probably going to be 1800. It might be 1800. The question is this, right? This is my opinion. This is like, I've just thought this up on my own. I don't have any inside information. If they keep the LV16 as a like kind of a upper mid-rangey, I know it's expensive now, but hear me out. I'm saying when they come out with the LV2, they could come out with the LV2, and if they keep selling the 1.6 as a cheaper alternative, we might see something like the LV16 go down marginally to like, say, what would be a good price point for it? Like $11.49 maybe, or $10.99, something like that. And then they can sell the LV2 for, say, I think 1800 might be a little stiff. Maybe like $15.99 or $16.49 in there, and that would work. If they are going to discontinue the LV16 and it's just going to get replaced by the LV2, I'm not sure where that's going to come. It seems like a lot to ask to just bump it way up into high-end territory and make it $1,700 or something like that when there's no other pop-it alternative. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see, but it's not going to be cheap no matter what. That is faux show. Your masked friend, sorry my video was a little behind. Don't worry about it, man. The video has been a little jittery according to my little monitoring tool that YouTube gives me. I hope it's being okay for everybody. Don't sweat it. So yeah, keep reeling. You called MacDev with an issue and no one called you back. Yeah, no one's going to call you back, and they're not going to reply to emails. But write it down. Mark Christian. It's M-A-R-C. Mark Christian. He's on Facebook. He's in the MacDev fan pages, MacDev militia page, etc. Super good guy, and 100% he will help you to whatever extent he is able to help you. No question about it. Awesome dude, and MacDev is lucky to have him. Let's see. Aspire 2 ever jam? That's a good question. I never had one jam. I mean, I assume you mean IR2. There's no Spire 2. There's an IR and IR2. Then there's a Spire. Then there's a Spire 3 and Spire 4. I've never had any of them jam one time ever. Or the control. The little bit I use the control. They all use that same rubber spinning tower thingy. I certainly have lots of my I've mentioned to you guys before, my I believe that the IR/IR2 is the best hopper at any price, unless you need 20 balls a second. We're putting that aside. Like if you're living in a 10-5 world, playing tournaments or fields that don't allow above 10-5, that's the caveat. They're not going to none of those do 20 balls a second. But if you're living in a 10-5 world, I think the IR/IR2 is the best hopper money can buy. I've put a ton of paint through them. All of my hoppers that I use myself are old school Spire 260 shells with Spire IR trays in them because they fit right in. And they use the old school eyes. They feed great. They very rarely break. And I've yet to ever have one jam. I can't say they'll never jam because who's to say? I mean, maybe someday you'll get some kind of football shaped thing in there and it'll jam. But I have untold cases of paint through those things. I've never seen one jam yet. So I'm going to say no. Rotors are trash. I don't know if I'd go that far. I think my opinion is that their time is kind of past, right? They're heavy. The mechanism is more complex, which is not a big deal. It's pretty reliable, but it's more of a hassle to clean it because you have to take all those parts apart. And the thing is this, like I said, 10-5 world, right? If you need 20 balls a second, rotors are awesome. And they're one of the only games in town. And if you're going to talk about modern hoppers, it's really the only game in town. You got to go back to Halos and the prophecies and stuff. If you want those fast feed rates. So if you need that, rotors are fine. They do jam once in a while. They have a little shark tooth and they get unjammed. It's not a disaster. But if you're in a 10-5 world like I am, I don't see why you'd want to use a rotor. Because the extra weight and complexity doesn't give any benefit. It's not that they're bad. It's just that. They're, I just don't see the benefit of it. So I don't know. I wouldn't say they're trash. They have a long history of being very reliable, very heavy duty. They do jam a little bit, but they unjam pretty easily, so yeah. Every loader jams once a day. Absolutely not true. None of my IRs or Spires have ever jammed in the 2.5 years I've been using Spires and Spire IRs. Not one day. And I play, and some of my teammates here can vouch for me. I play almost every single weekend, year round. Not literally, because things come up, right? But nearly every weekend. I would say more than the average person. Not more than Genitals here, because Kevin's a lunatic. He plays like 6 days a week, I think. He plays constantly. But yeah, they don't jam once a day. I've never had one jam one time, and I'm sure they have hundreds of days of play on them collectively. Let's see. Zombie Slayer mentions about the LV2, what I was talking about, the BST price for 1.6. Yeah, it will a bit, but part of that depends on how expensive it is, right? If the LV2 is high price, then that doesn't put much downward pressure on the used price of LV16s, right? Because the whole idea of pricing pressure is that if you're selling something for this much and something better comes along for this much, that pushes the price of this one down, because why would you spend this much when you can get the better one for this, right? And it pushes it down. But if the thing you're selling for this much, LV16, and then the new thing comes along way up here, you don't have that pressure because, yeah, it might be better and cooler and newer, but it's just way cheaper. So there's not much pressure to make it more cheaper, right? So that will depend if it's going to come down or not. What Spire is best? Keep Reeling asks. So like I said, you can look at my video. I have a Spire IR2 review, and like I just said, my opinion is that the IR/IR2, that's the newer one, is the best hopper at any price. The extra stuff that you get in the Control or the Spire 4 in the technology they use to feed is interesting, but I can't figure out a single benefit to it. No one has ever been able to explain it to me in a way that's convincing. So I'll talk about that for 1 second before we move on. This is my example. The way those work is they have a shock sensing system, right, where the shock of the shot, or like kind of if you hit the hopper, like if you're holding it in your hand and it's on, and you hit the back of it a little bit, it'll spin it, right? That's how it feeds. And the feed logic of the 4 and the Control is that once it feels the shock, it keeps feeding until it gets tension in the stack and pushes the rotor. I shouldn't call it a rotor because it's not a die rotor, but the tower thingy. When it feels pressure against it because the stack is full, it'll stop. And the next time it gets shocked and it moves, it'll go, right? And that's cool, and it does work. It's reliable. It works, no question. But here's the thing. With the Spire 4, they added Bluetooth to it, and they've got this thing now where they have it with the the Lux Ace, and then they have it now with the CS2 Pro, or a regular CS2, I think also, if you have the Bluetooth module, where you can Bluetooth the hopper and the gun together. And then what happens is, instead of using that mechanism, the eye mechanism in the marker now communicates directly to the board of the hopper via Bluetooth, so that when you fire it, it tells the hopper to turn via the mechanism in the marker that tells it that it's fired a ball, right? They say that's the absolute pinnacle of feeding technology. So here's my question. If the shock thing is good, but the eye mechanism in the gun is better, why isn't the eye mechanism just like this far away in the feed tube of the hopper, which is doing exactly the same thing? How is that worse than the other one that's farther away from the stack? Like, it's at the very bottom of the stack, right? It's a mystery to me. I can't see the benefit. It's one of those things when you read it, it seems like cool technology, but if you apply a little critical thought to it and figure out, like, what is the practical benefit? Like, how are paintballs feeding better because of this versus that? There's no answer as far as I'm concerned. No one's able to tell me one. I can't figure out one. The eyes work great in the IR and IR2, and those hoppers are inexpensive, and they work awesome, and they'll feed up like 15 balls a second without a problem. So, yeah, to answer your question, I think the best one is the IR or the IR2. That's the newer one with a better shell, same guts. Yeah, the control, they do work well. Controls are good. They don't hold much paint. They're small, but they look cool. And, I mean, they're fabulously expensive. I have a review of that, too. I'm not a hater of the hoppers. I just think they cost about 100% more than they're worth. Like, they should be 50% cheaper. If you buy a retail price control, buy the retail price ramps, retail priced speed feed, and the rechargeable battery, you're nearing $350 for a hopper, which is completely absurd, in my opinion. But they do work well. Okay, so let's see. I'm trying to catch up with everybody. Garrett says, have I heard anything regarding CS2 mech frame restock? No. You're exactly right. You answered your own question. Just to be announced forever due to COVID. And it's not going to be forever. They'll catch up. But, yeah, you answered your question for sure. Ryan Greenspan said the new Lux from Adrenaline was shooting 20 balls a second. Well, I mean, the fact of the matter is, and your masked friend, he asked me, what are my thoughts on mechanical shooting faster than NXL balls per second? There's really not any way around it. The 20 ball a second thing is because they have the shape of the frame and the trigger such that it's possible to walk it. If you have nimble fingers and you're well coordinated, you can do that. I can get to, I've shot over a crony with my EMEC. And I bought this extra, I forget who made it, but this extra fat trigger shoe. It's not tournament legal because it sticks out past the guard. But I just wanted to see what it would be like if I could walk it. And I shot it over a crony, and I can sustain. I mean, it takes practice because it's weird that your fingers are close together and that trigger's a little wonky. But I was able to sustain nearly 15 balls a second without missing any once I practiced for a while. And I think that if I had if I had smaller fingers or more nimble ability to do this, to walk like that in this little close proximity, I could get up near 17, 18 probably. Either one of them, they're all really fast that way. My thoughts are let me go back to the hopper real quick. Peter Porter says, why hate control? I did a whole video about it, and I just kind of explained it in a nutshell. I don't hate it. It's just grossly overpriced and doesn't do anything better than the other hoppers that are a fraction of the money. It looks cool, but that's it. Watch my review, and you can see what I think about the control. So about the speeds of mechanical, I don't know. It's hard to, you know what I mean? I don't know what my opinion is. Like, my opinion doesn't matter. Like, the idea of like slow, I kind of wish everybody was shooting autocockers because that would be cool, and it wouldn't be so fast. But like, you can't do that. Like, no one's going to have like a ICC autococker only tournament that's actually widely popular, right? Or automags and autocockers or whatever. Oh, excuse me. So what I think of it, in theory, is it's kind of lame because it's clearly outside of the idea. When people first said, let's go back to mech, the idea was like, oh, look, we're all shooting old school guns. Bang, 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 bang. That's what people have in their head. And that's not what happened, which is a natural progression of technology. It's like racing is the same thing, right? You can There's a good example. I've mentioned a few times on here. I used to race motorcycles a long time ago, and the motorcycle racing still has this, but way back in the day, like in the '80s, AMA, that's American Motorcycle Racing Association, or American Motorcycle Association Racing, had this class to come up with called Super Sport, which was 600cc bikes. And the idea was that we're going to limit the cost of racing so that any average Joe, they can go to their local shop, buy a bike, do rudimentary race prep to it, and it'll be just as good as the factory bikes, and no one will complain that the factories outspend them and they can't win, right? Well, here's I'll give you a 2 seconds to guess. That worked great. Yes or no? Yeah, no, of course not, because there's always a way, right? Wherever there's an edge. And one of the many things that happened as far as cheating, and they did a good job keeping the engine specs normal, right? Well, Honda was caught. I mean, I say caught, there was no rule against it. Well, they're Honda, right? It's a massive corporation. So they're like, well, we have to leave it all stock. We have to use all OEM parts. Well, good thing we're the manufacturer. They would just go down to the line, the manufacturing line, with a bunch of high-tech measuring tools, and they'd go through hundreds and hundreds of heads and hundreds of valves and hundreds of cams and cranks and bearings and cases, and they would find all the ones with just precisely the right measurements within those very small tolerances, so that when they put all the different parts together, they ended up with like 5% more efficient engine than an average one that came off the line, because they hand-picked the parts in a way that no one else can. And what do you know? They went to Daytona that year, and the factory Honda 600, which is supposed to be bone stock, was like 15 miles an hour faster on the banking than anybody else, right? There's no way around it, is the point. When you're going to have competition, people are going to find a way. So my attitude's kind of like, what are you going to do? That's kind of my answer to that. Let's see. Yeah. So your mass friend says, I personally love it. The arms race is back. It's what made paintball and upgrading so fun. And yeah, you know what? I don't mind it. I did my video with my hot rod E-Mech, and I really enjoy playing with my hot rodded E-Mech. I was about to say that I love that marker. If people were all playing with autocockers, I would do that, because that would be fun too. But it is fun to modify. You know, all these modern, the Met guys call them space guns, right? All the modern electronic markers are so good and so high performance that even the crappiest ones aren't actually crappy. Even the bad ones are mostly okay, right? And you don't modify them. There's no tuning of any significance. Like LVs, you can tune them to feel different, but the performance doesn't change. You can still only shoot 10.5 and 300 feet per second. Like, they all do that, right? So yeah, it is fun to hot rod things. I'm with that for sure. Let's see. HK hopper. So I'm going to talk clips. I'm going to talk about that hopper in a second. 22 balls a second. Yeah, I've got one coming from Punisher. We're going to talk about it in a minute. The new HK TFX3 is supposed to be pretty cool. Graham Boy, how you doing? Says getting back in after 10 years. Oh, hey, thanks for the compliment. I appreciate it. X-crazed, yo to you too. Graham Boy, I'm glad you enjoyed it. He says he's planning on tuning his 07 Ego. Yeah, you know what? So here's the thing, this is what I was just saying. Even though 07 Egos are older, there are parts you can get, right? I think you can still get the Tech T bolt. None of those are meaningful upgrades. The upgrades of paintball guns, even since the days, well, as soon as autocockers were solved and people had the good pneumatics where they would reliably cycle and stay in time and go reasonably fast, that was everything there was to do with upgrades, right? And people would try like 80 different bolts, and yeah, could you get like this much difference? Yeah, probably, but it didn't make any difference on the field. And your Ego 7, I'm sorry to say, is not going to be any different. You're much better off to tune it, go through it for reliability purposes, make sure it's set to the factory settings, properly set up, lubed, etc., good O-rings, and just play with it and save your money that you would spend on O-rings to get something else in case you want something else later. Let's see. What do we got here? Dirty Toenail says they claim there's less downtime between stop shooting and firing again with the Bluetooth. Yeah, they claim that, but there's no logic that would explain that that's true. In an IR, you have eyes that are hardwired directly to the drive of the hopper from like this far away, right? And they're going to try to convince me that when that ball moves and that communication goes from the eye over that distance to the drive of the hopper, somehow that's meaningfully slower than a Bluetooth connection that's around here, say, wirelessly going to the drive doing the same thing. I'm just not buying it. I don't believe it. I think it's not true. It certainly has no benefit at 10.5. I mean, like I said, I've been using those cheap IRs. My favorite hopper is like a 4 or 5 year old Spire 260 shell and a over 2 year old Spire IR tray. And as far as I can remember, I don't think I've ever missed a single shot in years of pounding 10.5 through that thing. I mean, so it can't be better. Like, what? How could it be better, right? Maybe if you get to 15 balls a second, 16 balls a second, where you're on the very edge of the capacity to feed, maybe there's a difference there, but who cares? None of us are playing at that speed, so whatever, If that's how it's better, then congratulations, but at 10.5, I'm not buying it. Let's see, what else are we talking about in here? Your masked friend's talking about he loves that AMA story, he's been racing his whole life. So you know what I'm talking about, right? The rules are guidelines, right? Anytime you establish a rule, people are going to figure out a way to push it and hot rod it. So what are you going to do? Let's see. Yeah, the victory lineup, I don't see that happening, Zombie Slayer. I don't see Force, and I don't know this, I don't have no inside information, but I don't see them having the resources to be developing a bunch of different lines. If they come out with a different line, it's going to be a Return to the Intimidator. And like I said, this is pure speculation. I don't have any information, but I'm saying if they're going to devote resources to a second line of markers, it's not going to be a resurrection of the old victory line. It's going to be like G6Rs or some Intimidator variant, right? Like some modern equivalent to go head-to-head against the LVs. And they would sell a pile. I mean, you know how many people love those things, right? They love them. Highest capacity loader. That would be the Pinocchio for sure. That's that giant extended nose thing. I don't have a picture of it here. The biggest capacity modern currently available hopper that is like I mean, you can buy the Pinocchio. I'm saying like of the modern models would be the Spire 4280 would be the highest capacity. And we're going to talk again about the TFX3 is a brand new one that just came out. Hey, Reaper, you come from, I don't know who you are, Reaper, but with a name like Reaper, I bet you are coming for me, and I will be at the TXL. So I can't wait to see you. Come by and say hi for sure. I mean, except for sticking your barrel in my ear. I mean, literally come by and actually say hi. So yeah, we're talking about, we have a tournament this weekend. And Reaper is, I don't know who that is in real life, but a guy on another team apparently. So let's see. Tommy says TM40 is a smooth, consistent, efficient marker. Haven't got my hands on one of those yet. I have a mafioso said he's going to send me one. I haven't seen it yet. As soon as I get it, I'll do a review for sure. And I've told all you guys 100 times how I can't stand the gardeners and those companies, but I will always happily review the markers because people want to know about them. And I'm not here to be like the moral authority on things. I've expressed my opinion, and that's that. And if people want to know about those markers, I'll do a review on them just like I'll do on anything else. And I've heard a lot of good reviews that the changes that they made on the TM40 were meaningful. They have better paint handling and more efficiency. I've heard that, and they always look cool. Luxes have been the coolest looking markers for years, in my opinion. So yeah, I can't wait to be able to do that. Dominic, I'm glad you're enjoying the MacDev. I'm glad to hear it. Always glad to hear that. They're, like I said, I still love them. They're great markers for sure. Stranded on an island. What setup would I take with me? Why do I need a setup when I'm stranded on an island? Is it an island of paintball players? If I could only take one setup with me, it would probably be a 170 and a Powerhouse Reg on an 88 and a Spire IR or a 260 shell with an IR tray in it. Super reliability, super easy to work on. Yeah, that'll be the one. Let's see. Field 1 said they're coming out with the new Intimidator. Great, yeah. I didn't know that. I didn't know they said that. But my speculation is that... oh, yeah, Reaper on Destiny. Cool. Yeah, well, I'll see it for sure. Yeah, I had heard speculation that they might do that with the Intimidator, and that would be super cool to see. I've never personally been a G6R guy or an Intimidator guy in general, but I know I'm way in the minority, and people love those things, and I would love to do a review on those too. Let's see. The IR is not a slouch. Get the speed ram, speed feed. Yeah, for sure. Have I shot VCOM and VIS? I have, and even the spool engine in the Victory is still clacky to me. I've never been a big fan of the way any of those shoot. I know this is not exactly what you asked. The one I had the most experience with is the Insight. Mine was actually a Victus, but same thing, right? With the reflex core. And I think those are largely accepted to be the smoothest of that line of markers. And, excuse me, I did like them fine, but just not my cup of tea. I can't explain why. Nothing to do with performance. They shoot fine. And the spool engine for the Victory shoots fine as well, as does the Poppet one. I mean, they both work great. It's a question of feel, really, and the spool one is a little bit easier on paint. T4, Dave, I'm the guy sending the adrenaline. Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm glad to see you. Yeah, no, I assumed, I knew that I know everybody's waiting for those. And if you want to get it and play with it first, no, obviously no problem. I'm very thankful that you're going to send it to me at all. So yeah, can't wait to see the TM40. So thanks for that. So with regard to, I want to move on a little bit here, because we had a question from Brian. I don't know if Brian's here, but he asked how bigger players keep cool while playing in hot weather. And this goes for anyone. It's not just bigger players, but all these things work. And as an old guy who has had heart problems, I'm not exactly an Olympic athlete, but I love to play, and I play when it's hot because I'm in Tennessee. I have what I think are some meaningful tips. Like everybody always says, hydrate. But that doesn't mean the day of. The day before you play, you have to hydrate. Drink water pretty much constantly all day until you are peeing clear. And when you wake up first thing in the morning, keep drinking. And if it's like hot and humid to where you're like pouring sweat the whole time, or in general, it's just like hot weather, if you're not doing something else that has to be done with your hands, you should have a bottle of water in your hand. And you can alternate water and Gatorade if you want to get a little sugar in there. You know what I mean? But hydrate. And everyone says that. I know it's not earth-shattering advice, but the hydrating the day before matters. Do that 100%. I promise you, if you've never done that before, you'll feel better. If you're fully hydrated and you're in some kind of reasonable shape to where you can function as a person, you won't believe how much better you feel compared to not being hydrated. It's a huge difference. Reaper says, remember the last TXO with the weather? Yeah. It was like 99.3% humidity, it felt like. Like if you'd reach over and pick this up and immediately you're sweating. Like you couldn't even move. You just pour sweat the whole time. It was awful. But that's one thing. And there's another important thing that is might seem obvious, but it doesn't always apply to everyone, or everyone doesn't do it, is that think of it like a flow chart. If you don't have to be in the sun, be in the shade. If you don't have to be moving, be still. If you don't have to be standing, be sitting. Make that like a point of acting like that, right? Like don't stand out in the sun needlessly when you can move over 4 feet and be under your team canopy out of the sun. And if you don't need to be moving, don't move. If you don't need to be standing, sit. Always drink. If you do all those things, those types of things will help you maintain during the course of the day. Like I'm maintaining my hydration right now. Or this could be gin, you don't know. But yeah, those things are important. Last thing I'll say is about the heat thing is don't wear a black jersey and like a black head wrap. It's needlessly hot. Wear a light colored covering on your head. And if you can, wear a lighter colored jersey. I know we're talking about team jerseys. You wear what you wear. But our Knuckleheads jersey, which I've showed you guys before, have a white on the shoulders and down the arms and down the middle of the back. And that's on purpose for being out in the sun. I did that on purpose to have a little bit cooler feel. A. Trayson is super chats me for $2 Canadian. You are the man. Korean fried chicken is the best kind of chicken. Who am I to argue? Mr. $2. Thank you so much. I need to figure out a way to sort of like let people know about the super chat thing, because you know with my all the different things I pay for all the time for doing this, it would really make a difference if I had some kind of a little revenue stream like that to help me pay for stuff. Like I just bought new monitors, and I've got most of the parts to build a new computer, because my video computer, when I put more than one video stream into it, it starts to choke, and it's like it's old, it's not fast enough. And I'm never going to come to you guys like begging you for money or whatever. I've never mentioned, please send me money ever. I never will. But the fact of the matter is I spend money to do this, and that makes me very appreciative when you do that. So thanks very much. Okay, so let's see. What else do we have here? I'm looking at what I'm talking about is on the Facebook post. I put in there like, hey, let me know what you want to talk about. And people posted a few things. The big guy in the heat was one of them. Those other guns. Okay, so somebody mentioned in here about the new HK Saber. It's not really news. It's just a spider clone. I'm not sure why there's so much hate. People just love to hate HK Army, and I mean, I guess I see why. But it's just an entry-level marker blowback. It's just a spider clone. There's nothing interesting there. Let's see. Okay, Brian Helmold asked, he said he's thinking about trying something Is there anything else, anything worth trying that isn't an M series or DSR? So there is, but there isn't, kind of. And this is what I mean by that. If you want to do the mid-range thing, the DSR is awesome, for sure. Everybody knows it. And there's nothing else that's right up in that class. I would say normally, like, yeah, I love DM14s and DM15s, but this is why I said no at the beginning of that little statement. DM14s are cool. They shoot great, and if you upgrade them with the Billowing Bolt, they shoot better. They have an LPR, which you have to keep adjusted properly. They don't go out of adjustment much, but you do have to make sure that they're in adjustment, and that they work great. The DM15 is essentially the same. I have a point to this. Stay with me. The DM15 is like the same marker, except it comes with the Billowing Bolt stock, which is cool. It has a little bit different milling on it, and the feed neck is lower profile, and that's the only difference between a DM14 and a DM15. Now, here's the reason I said no. The M2 is M series, like we said, right? But an M2 is really just a fancy DM15 with the big M series screen on it. It's the only difference. It has all the same architecture, all the parts are the same. And here's the thing, is that you can, now, this is kind of pre-COVID, but when the market is normal, I was buying M2s all day long for like $475 to $500, and people are still getting like $400 or $375 to $400 for a DM15. So if I'm spending that kind of money, I would just spend a little bit extra and get the M2. That's why I say no when you say that's not an M series. If you're trying to go bargain, get an M2. It's like a hot rod. They could have called that like the DM15 Pro, because it really has nothing in common with a with an M3. The M2 and the M3 are completely different markers, but the DM15 and the M2 are the same marker, just that the M2 has the big screen, and then the M2 Moss Air has the wireless charging, which, like, who cares about that, right? Like, I mean, it's cool, I guess, but it has a charging port. You just plug it in. But we can all plug in a charging port. Not a big deal to me. So I guess my personal answer is no. I don't think there is anything worth trying that isn't one of those, because the M2 is a bargain, and like I said, you're getting a DM15 like Pro or whatever when you buy an M2. Okay, let's see if anybody else posted in here. Garrett is coming for me also. I hope not, because Garrett is on my team, Reaper, so hopefully he's not coming for me. Hopefully he's coming for you. Michael says revenue is bueno. Yeah, it is for sure. Use Streamlabs. Yeah, you know what? I've looked into Streamlabs, and I forget if it's Streamlabs tool I turned on. If somebody types in a profanity in the chat, I think you'll see a Streamlabs. It might not be Streamlabs. Maybe somebody else. Somebody try it, and you'll see what gets blocked. Maybe it's not Streamlabs. Maybe it's somebody else. But let's see. Steve A. Hey, man. How are you? There's a question about my camera setup. I'll get to that in a minute. I want to show. I don't think he's here. But if you remember, I said I'd have something special for my 1,000th subscriber. His name is Kevin Miser. And this is a one-of-one. Let me make sure everybody can see this. This is a one-of-one jersey that I had made for him. It has the Airtime Paintball Mafia logo on there, and his name, and 1K is his number because he's the 1,000th subscriber. These are made to exactly the same specs as our Knuckleheads jerseys by Ugly Paintball. They're really thin, great material in heat. They've got venting down the side, like vented material on the sides. They have ballistic nylon with a tiny bit of padding on the forearms so that when you dive, they stay durable. We've been using these, well, not this one, but this build for over a year now. I don't think anyone's got a hole in one yet. I mean, they're super durable. They're awesome jerseys. Thank you, Kevin Miser, for being subscriber number 1,000. This is your jersey. Boom. There it is. And I know I have your address. I'll be sending this out to you in the next couple of days. Thank you for being Mr. 1000. I greatly appreciate it. Let's see. Looking in the chat for questions. What camera set do I recommend? I haven't done any of that yet, buddy. I don't have a good answer for you. He's asking about gun or mask camera setups. It seems like all the best footage always comes from GoPros doing that. The HK makes a machined aluminum mount, and you can put GoPros on the barrel or on your mask. Those seem to consistently yield the best results, but I haven't done it myself. Michael says bang for the buck. I don't know what you're asking about. Like gloves, shoes, markers, hoppers, paint. What? Thank you, Porter, for congratulations. I appreciate it. I will be... Clip says I need that jersey. My next thing, I'm going to be doing some jerseys. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get a final design. It's going to be this exact design. I'm going to show you guys again. It'll be the same design, but it'll have regular numbers and names on the back. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do these. And it's going to be just like this, right? That's why I'm flipping it around a couple times so you can see. And I will be taking, when I figure out how much they're going to be, I'll set up like a pre-order thing, and I'll give people a bunch of time to order, and I'll order a big pile of them. Hey, Dylan, how are you? Dylan lives in my town, oddly enough. It's total coincidence, and we play with him, not on the team. He's on a different team, but we'll be playing against him at TXL next weekend. Glad to see that. Lumps, thank you for the... compliment. Garrett says fire on the jersey. Yeah, they're cool. Okay, Michael, glad to hear it. Okay, so a couple other things to talk about before we go. I'm going to wrap it up here pretty soon. Let me change scenes here. HK has come out with a new hopper. We mentioned it in passing. It is the TFX3. It looks like that. You'll see this little animation makes it look like it's articulated where it expands up and down. It doesn't do that. It's a separate wedge piece, almost exactly like the Valken VSL hopper had, which expands the capacity. Goes from like 185 to around 220, I believe. I'm going to scroll here and see if I find the number. Oh, did I miss it? Maybe it doesn't say it in there. I'm sure I read that somewhere. I think I'm close on the numbers. It's not huge with the wedge. It's like 220 or 230, but that's still quite a bit more than it is when it's small. So if you're a bat guy, you want bigger capacity, you put that wedge in there. Pretty cool. It comes with this is a good thing about this. These are, I know they're sold out, but let's see the price. Does it say what the price is? Oh, they're not going to show the price. I'm pretty sure they're $225. Let me see if I can find the price. $250. $250 they are. Here it is in black, by the way. $250 is what these are. Well, this is the thing is for $250, you get the capacity expansion wedge, rechargeable battery. Built into the design is the ramp and speed feed. All comes with it for $250. So if this thing works as advertised, like if it's functional and reliable, and like I said, I got one coming, I'm going to do a video, but if it works, and the original TFX2s, or I shouldn't say the original ones have a little bit of problems where paintballs get stuck in the ramp and stuff like that, but they mostly work, and the TFX2s are even better, and no reason to believe these haven't improved, and if they have, this should be an excellent value for a hopper, especially when compared to a control, which is the same amount of money before you even start buying extra parts for it, right? This is $250, everything, soup to nuts, and that's with no discounts or sales or anything like that. So that is pretty cool. Let me see if I can, let's see here. Let's go through some pictures so you can see. There's the speed feed that it comes with. Good speed feeds. I've used HK speed feeds before. They work fine. That's a picture of the rotor piece. They have little soft rubber bits on. Here's an exploded picture. You can see this blue part. This is the ramp that is built into the design. You don't have to buy ramps. And then we have a few pictures like top down. That's actually from the bottom. You don't actually see that part. That's what it looks like on the inside. You can see the ramp here and the system that feeds it. And the back is curved up, so you don't need a ramp in the back. And then we have some pictures where you can just see the profile of it. Yeah, so $250, pretty cool. I'm going to go back and see if anybody has anything to say about that before I move on. I just wanted to show that. I'll be doing a video. 230 Clip says, yeah, okay, good. Austin's asking me what my opinion is about rechargeable batteries versus replaceables. Well, excuse me. I don't mind rechargeable batteries. They say that this rechargeable battery lasts like a bazillion shots in between charges, so it's perfectly fine. The thing that I don't like about rechargeable batteries in something like a hopper is that it works great right up until it doesn't, and the day that it stops working, you better have a spare hopper or a spare rechargeable battery part that you can disassemble your hopper and replace it, right? I don't ever have to worry about that with double A's or what have you. So I tend to prefer regular batteries, and maybe part of that is I'm like get off. Maybe I'm like get off my lawn guy, but that's how I feel about that. I don't have a problem with it. Plenty of people like it. So yeah, that's one thing. There's another thing I wanted to talk about that was pointed out to me by Garrett. He's a teammate. He's been in this chat here. Oh yeah, I see. Clip says 30,000 shots, 15K. That's what I'm talking about. And Tommy says, why did I sell that 1.6? What? Because I didn't want it anymore? I don't really understand the question. Because I didn't have that much money into it, so I gave somebody a good deal. Is that why you're asking? Why is the price low? I don't know. I'm not sure what you're asking. Yeah, 30,000 shots, 15 cases. That's a lot to be able to shoot on a charge. So I don't think there's a problem with the technology. I just like to be able to swap it out real quick if there's an issue. So Garrett pointed out this to me, and I'm not sure exactly how I feel about this. I'm going to describe it to you. Autocockers.com has a generic, it's clearly a copy of the old die UL. They even call it Autococker Ultralight sleeved barrel. This says back only. They have the tips in the back, and the back's $35 and the tips $25. So it's $60. And what you end up with is a UL barrel, but it is bored for standard freak inserts. And you have dust black, gloss black, and raw polished, and for colors. And then if you look at the tips, the tips are, here's the options. Oops, I went past it. 14-inch or 16-inch, dust black, gloss black, or polished. And you end up for $60, you've got your bored die UL style barrel. Now, a couple things about that. I've mentioned to you guys a lot. You know, I come down pretty hard on companies that copy stuff or rip things off. I'm not a big fan that they chose to do that. Now, I don't know. Maybe they have an arrangement with them. I mean, it's almost exact copy. Maybe those guys are buddies, and the people that die gave them the old plans, like the old CAD drawings, so they could do it, because they look exactly like it. I don't know what the arrangement is, but they don't say die on them. Die doesn't sell these anymore. They're never going to sell them anymore. So, you know, they're not really... Are they hurting die by doing that? I mean, I know I'm being morally ambiguous. I don't have a strong opinion about this. It is not their design. It's so much exactly the same as the old ULs that I almost feel like they must have gotten it from them. Like they said, yeah, here, you can do this, and we don't care. But who knows? Maybe someone just scanned it and did it. I don't know the answer. But so I'm going to kind of punt on my opinion of whether that's okay or not. It's hard to see a big problem. They're not going to ever sell those again. It's hard for me to see where dye is being hurt. I'm sure someone who is more eloquent in the ways of intellectual property could correct me and explain to me why this is a disaster. But I'm just going to choose not to worry about it, I guess. But you all know how big of a fan I am of the whole bore it for freaks thing. My 6 here, I never do this right. That one is black and blue, and it's got right now, it has an old school UL dust blue black gloss blue front, bored for freaks. I used it last weekend. Shoots ropes. It's quiet. I love those. I love barrels. I've told you guys 100 times about my whole bored for freaks fetish. So I'm predisposed to like this thing. That's cheap, $60. It's already bored. Seems like a great value to me. Garrett got one. He's just tried it out. He said it works fine. There's no reason it wouldn't. So yeah, autocockers.com. Then they have that thing. I think it's pretty cool. Here's another thing I got. Speaking of bored for freaks, just last week, Infamous announced this. Now, I did a review in one of my live chats before about not really a review. I described my experience with my Silencio tip that I have for the FL, and I have it anodized to match my custom 170 that I've got. And it's kind of, oddly enough, right, that even though it's called a Silencio, they're actually kind of loud. But they do, just as advertised, when it rains, water doesn't get in as easily, so that's cool. Well, they came out. It's almost, I pulled the O-ring off of it. It's almost like somebody who's watching my video. I know that's not really why, but I like to think it is. About how I like one piece. I showed you all my CP barrels that are bored for freaks. So they came out with a board for standard freaks, 15-inch Silencio one-piece barrel. And that's just like right up my alley. And if you can't really see what I'm talking about here in the video, I'll just pull out I got my freak inserts here. These are the old school standard freak inserts. This is a 15-inch autococker threaded Infamous Silencio barrel, and you don't unthread anything. It's just one piece. It's just machined. You just stick it in there. It's O-ringed on the inside so that when it retains the thing, it won't fall out, and you can see the insert in there inside the barrel, and that's it. You have your freak insert in your one-piece barrel, and whatever size you need, you stick it in there. Done. And that's just really cool. I think I forgot to bring it up. I apologize. Let's see. Let's have a look. Barrels. None of that is it. I think I clicked the wrong thing. Hold on. Barrels. No, they don't have it in there. So it definitely wasn't 149. Where are these things? Here we go. Here we go. Right here. OG-1, they call it. This is the OG-1 one-piece insert barrel, $70. And it comes in a bunch of different colors here. And whatever color you get, it's a one piece. It's bored for freaks. You just stick it in there and you're done. So I thought that was kind of cool. Those are, like I said, $70, and I haven't shot it yet, but I have no reason to believe that it won't work like any other good barrel. And it'll still have the properties where if it's raining, water won't get in as easily. So pretty cool. I just wanted to look at that. I'm going to go back at the chat and see if there's anything else anybody wanted to bring up in there before we sign off. Yeah, covered the jersey. Let's see here. The chats. Lucy! Oh, I'm so glad to see you, Lucy. Glad you're around. Clip says, how do I find all this cool stuff? I don't know which cool stuff you're talking about. The way I found this in this barrel is they emailed me in a marketing email. So I ordered one like a lemming, right? Those those unnamed dye-ish barrels, my buddy Garrett here, who's on our team, he found those. Tommy, I will dive into the snake head first on camera before I'm done with paintball, I promise you. I'm targeting next year with being in good enough shape to be able to play any position on the field. I won't ever be like Kevin is his genitals in the chat. Kevin is like our snake destroyer. I'll never be Kevin. He's an excellent athlete and an absolute animal on a paintball field. I'll never be that, but I will be able to do it. Oh, Lucy, just for you, Lucy. This is Kevin Miser's 1,000th subscriber jersey. 1,000. His number is 1K because he's the 1,000th subscriber. And that's the jersey. Built to knucklehead standards by Ugly Paintball. Super lightweight, cool, ballistic nylon, all that. Awesomeness. I wouldn't want you to miss it. The holder for the inserts, Aaron, those are Paintball DNA. And Brian's got it. Yep, they make them for the standard and the XL. They're not expensive and they work great. Let's see. I'm just going through the chat, make sure I don't miss stuff. Steve A says Virtue's End Charge is awesome, lasts a long time. Yeah, it works great. I have no problem with the functionality in any way. I'm sure it's awesome. In fact, I know it's awesome. I've used it. It works fine for sure. Phil, hello, nice to see you. Porter says, do I prefer original Freak inserts or Freak XL? There is very tiny, not meaningful difference in performance. When I say performance, I mean efficiency between the Freak and the Freak XL. So I use the standard Freaks because they're cheaper. I'm not going to shoot more people on a paintball field because I have an extra this much insert in my barrel. It's just not going to happen. So I just have never spent the money. Let's see. What else am I missing here? Do I still have the blue and black Axe Pro? That was sold a long time ago. I don't have that anymore. I do have a blue and black 6, though, which is super cool. I can't show you in live feeds or they'll scrap my feed, but it's really cool. Oh, here, you know what I can do? Bear with me for a second before we go. I'll do this real quick. I'm pretty sure I've got a picture of it. Paintball. Bum, 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 bum. I think I do. Oh no. Hang on. All is not lost. Let me switch my view again and you can see it. This is my 6, which is black and blue. And that's remember I was telling you about that die. It has the die UL. That's Board for Freaks. I've told you guys before, you know, I always have a bunch of different markers. And whenever I bring a 6 to the field, I end up shooting it. That's how good they are. I know no one believes me. And they do not get the respect they deserve. I mean, I think I had about $3,000 of the paintball markers with me last week, and the only one I even took out of the bag to play with was that. I shot it all day because that's how awesome they are. So yeah, that's the 6 that I've got right now. Did I get my gauge pin set? I did for sure, Bobby Tay. I got my gauge pins to actually review all the barrel data. I've been so slammed at work, I have not had the time to do that. I have them, and I can do that. And I mentioned, for those of you who might not have been here, I went through all that barrel data with you guys, and when I got my gauge pins to accurately measure to the 10,000th the bores, the measurements I got weren't consistent with the measurements I got by hand with a caliper, which was disappointing but not surprising, right? That's why they make those, because it's not reliable really to just hold a cylinder in your hand and stick a gauge in there, because when you wiggle it around the tiniest bit, it can change by a significant number when we're talking about thousands. And so I got to revisit that data and measure all the bores with gauge pins so that we know. A gauge pin, for those of you who don't know, it's like a precisely machined slug that you just slip into the bore. And they're accurate to the 10,000ths. And I got a big set of them so that I can go up and down sizes and figure out precisely what the bores are. When I have time to go back through that, I'll do it. I just haven't had the time. Let's see. No, Lucy, it's not too bad. Everyone's going to get a chance. So, yeah, I will. Jerseys, like I mentioned this, maybe there's some new folks here. I will be putting together an order for jerseys, and it's going to be that same design with regular numbers and names on the back, or you can get whatever number you want, really. When I figure out how much they will be each, and I will do that for like kind of a little bit of a fundraiser. And don't worry, they won't be outrageously priced by any means. Probably still cheaper than most custom jersey places, and you'll be able to get your name and number on their custom and all that. That will be shortly. I would say within the next 2 weeks, I'll have that nailed down. I've already got Anthony Ugly taking a look at it for me. I haven't forgotten about you guys. We'll never forget about you guys. But that is all I have for today. And if no one has anything else to bring up, we got TXL coming up this weekend. The Knuckleheads are looking to avenge our disastrous results from the last event, which really had nothing to do with paintball and everything to do with poor organization and administration. I'm very sour grapes about it, in case you can't tell. I have an axe to grind. I have a mic to drop. I have faces to shoot. And anything less than winning will be a disappointment to me. But at least if our results are because of paintball and not because of BS, I will be at least a little satisfied. But if you're playing in that event next week, I'm not sure who all is here. If you guys are, if anyone here is going to be at that TXL and you're in D5, I apologize in advance because we're coming. Is Airtime Paintball on any other more social media platforms? We're on Facebook. There's a Facebook group, Airtime Paintball Mafia. Take a look in there, search for that. Apart from that, I'm not. I'm old and lame, and I'm a get off my lawn guy, and I'm not on Snapchat and Instagram and all there's like Twitter. I just don't have time to maintain them or actively participate in them. I barely have time for this, as many people will attest. I don't give it or you the attention that you deserve. I'm trying. Clips, good luck at the EXL. Porter, thank you very much for the well wishes, and Clips as well says good luck to the squad. Good luck to all of you. I hope you have a fun week. If it's hot this weekend, stay hydrated, and I will talk to you next time. Have a great time. And Lucy, thank you very much. It's great to see you. Bye, all.